Okay, good morning once again. So this is our topic for today is about forming your startup team and how what are the potential reasons no or what are like how can we create a successful team, potentially a successful team no in our startups in the future, or as we organize our startups in this T101 subject. So basically, we cover perspectives coming from the from different entrepreneurs. That's why I kind of organize their thoughts now. So there's no I should tell you that there's no a very good book that we can find. No, but so I think I'm reading if we happen to also get your hands on a book about the lean startup. No, so lean startup, ako lang na i-plug. No, so the author is Eric Ries. No, so maybe you would want to be interested. Klaro, kay nakakuan ko. Eric Ries. So Dili Rice, Eric Ries. So he's a very popular author, and you will learn a lot about organizing your startup, understanding more about startups, because this is one whole book. The last chapter that we discussed about startups, and actually continuing no about talking about the startup. So we kind of get some ideas from this book. There are more and plenty to more to explore about startups, and I think he has put together a very good book no, for us to like understand and also think about or consider also and decide no if we follow those philosophies or principles that he presented in his book. No? So you guys, yeah, I was thinking maybe during this, maybe during the midterm exam or ano, I'll be giving away books siguro no, for those top students in the exam. So okay, so if you're yeah having fun in the, I mean if you're okay with that, then we can do that no, during the midterm exams and the final exams and actually during the pitching. All right. So forming your startup teams. Okay, I'll just accept the others now. Admit. Okay. All right. So welcome once again. And of course, so we are Navigato, who runs the technopreneurship and program in the university. Okay, so how to build a startup management team? I think this is the starting point now for you guys, because basically when we do startups, the core team is yeah. Good morning, Janelle. Good morning, everybody. So good morning, everyone. Okay, so we're gonna build a startup management team. That means that you guys here in the subject, we will kind of act in a way. No? So that's why we talk about the 3H last time. No, the hipster, the hustler. Yes. Any question? So we kind of covered that fundamentally. Our topic will kind of expand on that baseline. No? So um, I ask you. I think I did not ask formally, no, but I was encouraging you to start thinking about who will be your teammates. We will be organizing ourselves for one group, 3 members each. That means how many of you here are 25? So there will be groups that can have 4. No, so I'll let you decide your teammates. No, but then let us go through this and then start working with people now who can uh, join your team. Okay. So we're trying to build a startup management team. So parang ano tayo mag-enact ano tayo sa murag, we kind of do this as an exercise to. And the same team that you will be building together, so the same team that you will be building together will be the same team will be pitching your business idea no from now on. So the 3 of you will be working together to build your own business idea. So the collaboration, the teamwork will come in. No? So that means that I am encouraging you guys to do teamwork, in this regard. As we go along, move from this subject today going towards the end, because we will have a pitching event in the final, parang final to culminate the subject. No? So I'll ask you to join or to gather to form a team. No? So three, at least three. So that will be our output for this week. Now, at the end of this session, I'm gonna ask you as part of your assignment to identify your team. No? So that will be part of your assignment. Right. So moving on. So our agenda for today is all about gonna discuss about startup team, and then when to grow. That means how will be if you will be expanding, and then the first hire, finding those people that you need and how to keep them, establishing a culture within you. So these are basic. So because we don't have usually if we discuss all of this is like one book. Basically we'll just try to get everything that we can, like the fundamentals, or the basics. So the differences will touch onto the differences between new and existing talent, and interns not so much. So we might be skipping that. But we'll be talking about highlight on the how and understand what is the startup team. No? So if several entrepreneurs come together to start a company together, they are called a startup team. So if you decide, your classmates, and really like be passionate about introducing or launching a startup, then if you come together, then immediately you'll be considered as a startup team. So it's not even yet like you need to have a business permit or ano. So you're just trying to come together now at first. So it doesn't necessarily involve if you will have a DTI registration immediately. So it's just that the dynamics of a startup is entirely different with those small businesses that are starting. So for us, one of the characteristics of a startup, as I mentioned in its definition, is that this is there are a lot of risks. No? There are a lot of uncertainties. So I think more than the risk, startups has a lot of uncertainties. That means that you will not be certain that your business idea will people will consider buying the products and services that you're gonna offer to them. No? So we go back to that idea. No, na even if you have a very good idea, you have a very good, like for you, you think that you have a very good idea and you have a very good product, and then if nobody buys it, nobody's willing to use it, then that's not much worth. No? So there's no much worth about the products or services that you're going to introduce. So there's a lot of uncertainty. So that means that the startup is very dynamic. It should be agile as well. So meaning to say, you're trying to do experiments first. No? So that is a startup. So we're not yet as at a business. No? So we're not formalizing the business yet. We're on the phase no na pre pa lang, pre business period. So that's what we are trying to engage in. So siguro that is also similar when you do come together today, starting today, discuss you guys know when you try to kind of select your team members, group together. So this is the pre-business planning, no business aspect. So we're trying to do some experiments. So we'll run an experiment if to validate if our business idea will be good or okay, or well, it's crap idea. So things like this. No? So we need to recognize that. All right. So an ideal startup team can keep your company afloat and help you sail farther. So sa Navigato, there's this thing that we started now. Actually, kanang bugsay pa more. I think you've heard about that. So kanang bugsay pa more, paddle pa more. It came from Navigato, no, our technology business incubator, because that's what we a lot of uncertainties also that we experienced in terms of running the incubator. So we refer that as bugsay pa more, no? Things like that. So an ideal startup team can keep your company afloat and help you sail farther. So supposedly we would go forward, no? So we would really want our startups would build a very good business and then scale up later on, no? So overcome the valley of death that we mentioned earlier in this subject. Okay, now the question is, how do we build a perfect startup management team? So that's one of the challenges, no? So kinsa man ni siya, so mura bitaw, who will be the part of our startup management team? What would be the characteristics, no? So will you be getting along very good? So based on studies, what is really very important in startup teams, no? So those are kind of the questions you may ask yourself, no, in terms of forming your own team. Okay, so we recognize that no man is an island and no CEO manages a company alone, and there are people behind him. So mainly when we talk about a CEO, so you're looking at, I mean, the chief executive officer now is it's not clear with you. So if you're talking about a company having a chief executive officer, that's like you're talking about, wow, that's a big, very big company already, you know, because you're naming your like the person on top of the that company's CEO, no? So you've heard also terms like chief technology officer, no, CTO, chief product officer, or chief information officer. So these are big, like in corporations, big corporations like PLDT, Globe Telecom. So they make use of these terms, no? So now in the startup, so we want you guys to like feel also that same parang level, no? So when I was working in the industry before, I came across with people like, even if the company is very small, they call themselves number one is the president, the other one is VP for business development, VP for technology. So even though the company is just like about 10 personnel only, no, but they have this structure. So that means that they try to establish that really we are really serious about running our company, no? So that's why these designations that you will learn, no? So for us in the Technopreneurship 101, we want you to also feel this way, no? So for example, the team leader, the three of you, the team leader will be called like the chief executive officer. So he is the responsible for marketing, business development. He will be the guy that speaks in terms of conducting pitching event. So that's his role, no? So that's his role. The other guy is the CTO, for example, the chief technology officer. So that is the coder, no? The coder. No? So kung coding or product developer, kumbaga, no? He's the engineer. No? So he's the engineer. No? So the chief technology officer, for example. The other one would be the chief design officer. For example, he is the designer of the product. If we follow that structure that we've discussed about the 3H, no, from the last meeting we have. So these terms would allow you not to feel like, okay, indeed, I'm the leader now of this startup team. And basically, our incubators in Navigato, so we allow them to use the title. And actually, we even asked, because we tried to formalize this, even in their parang calling cards, when we printed calling cards for them, so magigitabutangan nga chief executive officer, no, to allow you to really like own, no? So in terms of accountability and ownership of that position, that would allow you, no, to feel like I'm really the head of this company and I need to do good, no, to run this company. So things like that. So all right. So with a strong startup management team, your business can go from zero to hero. So we need to really have this strong management team. And let's show you what the reasons behind for many of the startups that were able to kind of go from zero to hero. So I think overall it starts with the team. So okay. So the reality is startups of all kinds likely to need hire people to expand when you are already growing. No, so that's when the company starts to grow. No, so this means that the imperative that the startup founders learn the rules for managing a team. No, because you will be expanding, people will be joining you, and then you will be setting up the company and how to run the company. No? So who will be heading who, or what team. No? So things like that. No? So if you start from 3, meaning to say the chief technology officer might be, there might be people or new engineers coming in to help him develop the product or service. No? So things like that. No? So to help him develop the product or service. Of course, when you're already a group, even if you're the team leader, so managing people is not always easy. So I think for the leaders, no, so for example, even if you're a leader in your, for example, geology na class, no, so you're the president. So even if you're tagged, I mean, even if you were like elected as president or governor, the challenges are still there. In I mean, there are a lot of challenges that you need to manage, you know, because not only that you manage the goals that you want to do for your organization, but manage the people and inspire the people that to work towards that goal that you want to establish. So this, you know, managing people for us engineers, so I mean, is really like part of our daily lives. No? So even if you will not be designated, no? When you go to an industry later on, so of course there's this specific, I know, na if you will not be, I don't know, working in a startup. So if you will be going to the industry, well, the promotion is based on how you perform, and then later on you will be tasked to lead and manage people. No? So it's the same thing with the startup team. No? So that means that the CEO, the acting CEO, would really be the brains and the minds and the leader, no, that people within the team will follow and be inspired with, no, supposedly. No? So inspiring. No? So dapat ang CEO is also be inspiring. And this type of skill, no, for us guys, new guys, this is a necessary skill for success. So how we properly manage our people. So for this session today, we'll not be talking about leadership. We'll not be talking about a lot more of that, no, because I believe even before I have a separate talk that runs for 1 hour to 2 hours as well on that. No? So we'll just try to focus about the startup team first. As noted here, managing a team in your startup, it starts with hiring the right people. Now, if you plan to hire people, we need to find the right people. And I think one of the stories, I don't have the book here, it's the other office. So I'm gonna show you supposedly the book of Elon Musk. The writer really like wrote a very good piece about the part where ASA or where Elon Musk hires the right people. So traditionally, mga big companies, multinational companies, no? So they hire people like they have built experience. But Elon Musk really is a risk taker. No? So even fresh graduates coming from the different highly reputable universities, as young as 20 years old, 19 years old, he's poaching those students already, no, to work for his company, no, Tesla or SpaceX, more especially SpaceX. No, he's poaching students and he offer opportunities for the students, no, who are very talented, intelligent. No, so from siguro University of California, Berkeley, no, so mga Harvard, Stanford University. So the strategy is getting the right people. So hire a business or project manager. Yeah, so there in the succeeding slides, there will be contradictions in what I'm trying to say to you, no? And I hope we can resolve that. But if you will be expanding your team later on, no, so you need to hire a business or project manager who will be running in behalf of you. No? So one very good principle about running a business is that the business, you founded a business, but later on, no, when you are really getting big, even if you're not running the business, or even if you're not present in the business, and still the business is running, so because somebody else is hired to do things on behalf of you, then that would be what a good, no? So that you can spend vacation time, no? So lisod kayo ang business nga, even if 1 week, 2 weeks wala ka, then the business will not be working, no? So you need to to get people on board, no, that whom you can trust and run the company in behalf of you. Now, there's other things like respect your team. So I think that's a very good, I don't know, within the team, there's a lot of respect. Communicate, communicate, communicate. That means that communication is very important. For startup teams, it's easy. Also, 3 members, founding 10 members, you can just gather around and then discuss what you want to do, plans for the rest of the year, no, for example. But when you get bigger, when you are big, a company already like employing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 employees, so that is difficult to communicate, no? And there's a channel, and then big corporations develop a hierarchy of the communication, no? So for example, the factory workers will be able to learn about what is happening in the company from their supervisors. The supervisors get their information from their managers. The managers get information from the chief executive team. So things like that, now there will be hierarchy if the company is very big already. No? So there is that hierarchy, the channels. So the most important thing is that good and bad, um, all of the members of the company would be able to know and understand what's happening with the company. No? So that there is accountability for every employee in the company. No? So every employee, every worker, there is accountability. No? So responsibilities and accountability. So you are designated to function a certain responsibilities, no? Or sets of responsibilities. And we need to be able to communicate with one another with what's going on between us, no? For example. So that's why communication is very important. Okay, within the team and even externally. Now, so usually in the communication part, the chief executive officer is the one who's like communicating with the outside, outside of the startup team, outside of the organization. And the responsibility of the CEO usually is to understand everything, the technology, the design, and all that. Because if he attends the meeting without those guys, the chief executive, the design officer, the chief design officer, and the chief technology officer, he will be able to articulate everything what's being asked, especially when facing investors. So especially when facing investors, because you're trying to get money for your team, for your startup team. So I think we've had a good idea about this, and I think during our incubation in 2018, 2019, Angelito was able to pitch. So this one startup in Navigato before he was able to pitch, and then of course they got the support, and then they got the money because they were consistent about in terms of pitching their business idea. So it's possible. No, it's possible. All right, let's move. So again, there's I want to raise this as early as possible because I don't want to like sugarcoat everything. That startup you would really be successful if you will develop your startup. But this figure says a lot about the characteristics or how startups are able to like succeed or not, or fail. And this figure is big. So every like 60% of new ventures fail due to problems with the team. It's big. Meaning to say it's not even about money, it's about the team. So there are issues that exist in the team that needs to be resolved if you're already a startup. But here comes the part wherein you guys will be forming your own team pa. So that's why it's very important for you guys to like get a particular persons in board on your team and make a decision that you will really be able to develop your product or business idea. So, ingani po rin itabo sa thesis, mga proposals bitaw. That's why before we have thesis proposals that are like, for example, group of 3, group of 2. But then the problem is that even if they like collectively decided to, okay, we group with one another, but then the middle of the journey, the proposal, for example, other members of the group will not be contributing anymore. So sometimes there is 2 or 1 person left in the team to develop the to develop the proposal, and that's a shame. No? There's no accountability, there's no responsibility, responsiveness to the other members. No? So that would always, like, this figure here, lead to failure. No, so that's a shame. That's so parang it's not the desirable thing that we would ask from the team. No, so just like you guys, you will be forming your team. So it's up to you now to decide. No, but this statistic says it all. And this is a study actually done by Eva Delmol, no, from the Harvard Business Review. So he was looking, or she was looking, about the success factors, no, that is happening, or the failure rates and the success factors, why startups fail, why startups succeed. No? So this is part of your first study. So when venture capital investors are doing their due diligence, so that means that when the investors, diba, we talk about this, the investors who will be funding your startup. So when we talk about due diligence, that means that they will look into really your startup. No? So that means they will look at your proposal, your idea. They will look at the market potential of your business idea. So what is the, like, they would understand really if your target market is really existing or not. So they will really do diligence. No? They will do due diligence in terms of the proposals, or the pitching. So they're focused carefully, necessarily, or usually they focus on the financial side of the business. So, napa may business model, there's a market, what is the growth plans of the company. That means they will need to know if your startup will only be limited in Butuan City, or your startup will be expanding all over the Philippines and Southeast Asia, or even Asia. So when you talk about things like that, so investors will be very interested because of the large market. And when you have a large market, meaning to say the income is also, the potential of the income is also big. So things like that. All right. So there are also, they hire expensive experts and use advanced data tools to answer this question and ensure that every financial details on the table. So that's what they do, no? Especially if you pass the initial screening in terms of pitching your business idea. I think these are the common thing, no? But actually, these are very. I mean, I asked a lot of questions about this when we had a tour in. I think we had a tour in India, and we were asking technology business incubators there. Okay, so commonly, what is the reason of, in India? Actually, guys, in India, so they've been running technology business incubation programs for engineering students for the past 20 to 30 years. So they started actually in 1990s, 1980s. So they've been running this. And sadly, the Philippines just ran this around 2010. So starting 2010. So kita sa CSU joined in 2017. So when I talk about 2010, that's the like UP Diliman. So there is not a lot of incubators, no, during this time. So only in 2015, MSUISD started. We started our own in 2017. And then a lot of universities followed in 2018, 2019. No? So actually, we were not behind. So basically, this is where the part wherein we kind of understand the reasons for the failures and the reasons for success. And we even see that in our startup teams. So for the inventors to fund startups, so they really have to like decide based on those financials. So sometimes they also like, okay, like I feel, so there's this gut feeling, no, as mentioned here. There's that gut feeling that during the pitching event, the presentation, so they have a gut feel na, okay, I'll fund this startup, no, because it seems like they're a very good team, no, in terms of how they pitch. No? But then the comment is that this is not a great approach. No? So usually funding agencies would always look at the financial viability of the startups. So this was one of the question when Miss Eva of the Harvard Business Review, look into the startups in Netherlands. No? In European, just like in the US, European countries are very vital, vibrant startup scene, no? Startup scene. So they have a very good startup environment as well, no? Especially in Netherlands, which is technology based ko na siya I mean, country. No? So if you look at the Global Innovation Index, Netherlands is among the top 10. No? So if not around included in the top 5. So what makes a successful startup team? No? Common answer is that prior startup experience, product knowledge, and industry skills predict the success of new ventures. So usually this is the thing. No? So but there is also this other things that was uncovered. No? So like for example, like there is a question here that, but is prior experience sufficient for a team to work well together? No, so meaning to say, if you put people together with prior experience, and then would you expect immediately that these people with experience would actually work like in terms of kanang ano magkuan ba na sila mayo ba ilang relationship dayon, no? So I mean, like for example, if you have different backgrounds where you worked before, so magpakitang gilas, no? So the team chemistry would be like one of the concerns, no? So team chemistry, no? Especially if you don't belong in the same background. So it was found that the experience alone was not enough, no? So to make a team thrive, meaning to say, even if you put these people together, no? So there are really concerns about making or developing a very good team. So, but the thing is here is that one of the most important thing that we need to consider, it's not just about the technical skills that we have. So it was found out that soft skills is one of the reasons that startup teams thrive. No? So soft skills. So I think we have like the communication skills. No? So those are part of the skills that you would want to develop. So I think very important communication. So these are the top 10 soft skills that was mentioned in the 21st century, no century daw. No? So 21st century skills that related to soft skills that they recognize that are the top at the top 10. No? So communication is number 1. So the other one is self-motivation. So for you guys, mga millennial man mo, no? Di ba? Mga millennial man mo, di ba? Kamu man ang considered na millennial. So usually daw, this perception, I'm not sure guys, no? But you can say yes or no. So dali ra daw mo, tinuod na siya, dali ra mo kanang masumhan or dali ra mo wad-an og kanang motivation. Was that true? Is that true? Dali ra mo mawad-an og kanang motivation. Is that true? Yes or no? Or that's parang well, ha? Millennials daw dali ra magkuan. Oh, si Marlos said, yes sir, yes sir. Dali ra masuman niya. Okay. So there's a study, no? So si Maria situational si Maria nagsulti rin situational sir. Depende sir, ingon si Matt. Para sa ako, oo, si Laris. Yes, yes, Marlo. So you have different answers, no? So situational, yes sir. Si Yani, as of today's time, yes na kaayo sir. Ang dali ra kayo mawad-an og kanang murag no, dali ra mo surrender. For example, if there will be hardships, dali ra daw kayo mo surrender, mo give up, no? And then mo resign sa trabaho if they're employed. And then go to another job, no? So isa doon na siya, no? So siguro ability to work under pressure and time management, no? So isa na siya ka concern or issue. Okay? So I think I found some answers from you guys. Thank you for your answers. So these are the soft skills, no? So mao na akong challenge akong mga anak, no? How to make them parang be able to work under pressure, especially Well, I think I've seen no, so my eldest na sa Pisay, I think she demonstrated nga she can ano no, so she can work under pressure kay DL man, DL no. So I think she demonstrated that. So hopefully guys na kita no, so we will be able to come or parang go through this and then adapt no. So what are the skills that we need no for us to be able to like get through hardships. But remember this, these are the things that we need to develop as well. No? Leadership, responsibility. I think you know everybody knows here that you are leaders at your own right, no, in your own right. So everybody is a leader here. No, so I think we have to nurture that no, on ourselves. Then we have teamwork. So of course we get along. No? So even if you don't like the person, but then if you intend to like set the goal for the company, so we need to like work together, no, to be very objective and to give a helping hand or whatever support that we need for the common purpose of making the company successful. So basically, that's the idea, no. So wherever we are placed, no, so even if you are working here, so we need to be supportive of whoever is in command. No? So yeah. So problem solving, decisiveness, ability to be flexible. Okay, you can negotiate, do conflict resolution. So these are the type of skills that you may want to consider and develop for every one of you as a soft skill. Right. I think this is the most important thing about what makes a successful startup team. Also, the three of you will be grouping together. So you have a shared entrepreneurial passion and shared strategic vision. So this is really required to get a superior team performance as based on the findings no, from the perspective of the venture capital investors. So these are the things that we need to look into. Okay. Shared entrepreneurial passion, meaning to say everybody like you and I in the same team, nag-align gid atong mga hunahuna no kani gyud siya atong gusto no. So sa ko personally, so I share this passion in entrepreneurship, technopreneurship, uh, siguro innovation, no? So I share this passion with, of course, my longtime friend, no, Rolinda Gil, no? So kami gyud magkasinabot ani, no? Kani atong bato, kani nindot kani, ana, so kani dire. So you get people like the same frequencies, no? So you get to get people on board na you are on the same frequency. Now you're passionate on the same thing. So I also like shared a vision of where you want to go no in terms of leading steering your startup team. So we need to clarify our vision no. So now I think I mentioned this before in the class. So every startup team we need to answer this no. So I have also a book here. Ako pangatag na ko ng libro siguro sa midterm. Start with why. Start with why no. So I think you've read kung nakabasa na mo ani si Simon Sinek. No? So he's a very good, inspiring speaker. So for us guys, for us, no, me and Roland, we always go back to why. Why we're doing this? What motivated us? No, so to be passionate about something. No, so to be passionate about pushing, um, pushing innovation and teaching about intellectual property, teaching entrepreneurship in the university. No, so these are the things that like we are really passionate about. Oh, even if we're doing a lot of things on that regard, and it's not even measured no, in our performance indicator in the university. So it goes beyond. No? So even our inspiration, when we are inspired to do these things, even if we're not compensated. No? So things like that, if you're passionate about, so these are the people that you want to get on board. No? If you kind of get those people in your startup team. So we need to be passionate about. And we as, for example, no, you guys, I'm referring to you, if we are able to inspire our classmates to believe in our vision and our goal no, of our startup, then I think everybody will contribute no, regardless of naabay overtime payment o wala. No, so Grabe ng mga tao nga even they extended long hours of doing things. Mingon kag ang work nato is supposedly 8 to 5 lang, but then you still do a lot of things beyond the 5 o'clock because you love what you're doing. You're inspired by what you are doing. So you are motivated, no? You are self-motivated about what you do. So these are the people that are really passionate with the things that you do. But people who like, agay, lasing ko na, muli na ta. No? So kind of, if I have to select, I might be one of those reasons that I will not be getting you on board of my team because you always count of, okay, we've done already 8 to 5, no? So that's the service that the government asks from us, no? But it's not, no? It goes beyond. That's why, like for example, on Saturdays, I give talk, I give time as long as I'm vacant because this is what we do, no? Beyond the 40 hours a week na the government requires us to do, no? So we can arrange sessions, things like that, no? Because we know our whys, no? We know this is where we are passionate about, no? So you guys need to know your whys, no? Internal whys. Why are we doing this? So for me, with teaching, I'm very passionate about teaching Technopreneurship 101, sharing my knowledge because I want really na for us not to be able for you guys to become successful entrepreneurs in the future, and you will be able to help the city we are in get a lot of employment in the future for the people of Butuan and in Caraga region. So for us to really parang bangon ta sa kwan ba, no, sa hirap, because we know that our region is one or second to the last, no, region in terms of economic performance. And I thought, Roland thought that the Dean of CCIS thought about this is one way, no, na hopefully if we can continue doing this for the next 5-10 years, get people on board in the same mindset that we have, maybe we can encourage more technopreneurs, no, coming out from the students. And yeah, earlier I was talking to Miss Bentola. I was trying to arrange a Q&A, no, para sa klase, para you get perspectives from a real technopreneur. So we're trying to arrange that next Monday. So medyo ano pa siya, tentative pa siya kay nasa schedule. So I'm getting really people to speak for you guys to understand the perspectives na, and you can ask questions about technopreneurship or entrepreneurship from those graduates from CSU who are running their own businesses right now. So I think for you guys, passion, vision, so you need to develop these things. No? So even you, no? So I said, di mo ko ganahan magnegosyo. Okay, if not, no? So tatanawan din, no? So one for every 25%, there's one person who will be deciding to be technopreneur. And even if you're not want to become an entrepreneur, technopreneur, then you think about what you want to achieve also in your personal life. No? So you will be guided with your vision ba, in the future going forward. No? In terms of course, we know that you guys want to also help your parents, things like that. You'll be successful na individual in the future. So you kind of set that tone kay mamundo na siya, no? Sa kanang every time nga sige mo siya gunaon, sige mo siya gunaon, where you want to go and achieve the things that you want to achieve. Meaning to say, there is an equivalent effort that you want to do, no? So that at least man lang you try to slowly get there, no? Yan na siya, no? So meaning to say for you guys, very young pa man kayo mo, you're still very young, 20 years old, 19 years old. So you're really like working on the way up, no? Because you're trying to finish your degree. Then now we're introducing about entrepreneurship, and then yeah, this is the way that we want you to consider in the future as well. Not even in the future, if you can do it this year or next year, no? So why not? No, so nobody stopping you. It's up to you, no, to like exert the effort that you need to become entrepreneurs. So madiskarte kumbaga, no? So madiskarte. Diskarte lang daw 'yan, no? All right. So it's why it's not moving? Okay. Okay, I think All right. So what makes a successful startup team? I think I just mentioned that the thing or the results came out. There is a high levels of passion and collective vision among the team members. So this demonstrated significantly stronger performance in the startup team. So mauna yung nakita nila, no? So collective vision and then high levels of passion. Everybody is on the same page. No, everybody is on the same page. Meaning to say, you understand the goals and aspirations of your startup team. No? So everybody understands. Like for example, the next 5 years or 10 years, you want to scale up your business. No, you want to like you started initially in Butuan City, and then you try to do experiment because you're a startup. You try to experiment what works, what will not work. So okay, mo na yung mo work out no sa atong negosyo, sa atong entrepreneurs, atong business, and mo na ang mga kuan dili nga mo work out. So you need to say you're trying to learn, no? And then later on you decide, okay, so my vision really is like you'll be able to like penetrate the national market and beyond the Philippine market. So setting the visions ahead within the startup team. So you start small, we dream big, but we start small. So kana no, so I want to share that as well na perspective. Dream big, but start small. So nobody kind of succeeded immediately, no. So they started really small. So I think we get to learn from those people we're gonna talk about or interview in this session. All right. So this discussion here: when should a startup team grow? So we talk about like expanding, no, in the assumptions of later on expanding your startup team, growing your team. Okay, so that is an assumption. If basically you need people when we grow, no, so that's what we have discussed earlier on. All right. So this opposite statement that I get from one of the perspectives of a startup. So he's a founder, and then this was his default answer: don't. When should the startup team grow? So the default answer he gave was that don't. No, meaning to say, kung you guys have, like for example, no, individually you're trying to find 4 people right now, don't, or yet. No, so unless when it hurts badly, no, so that means that you face a lot of challenges already in your startup team that you can no longer handle or manage the activities within the startup team. No? So it is stated here that people are your most expensive resource, and that's entirely true. Expensive, very expensive. And even when you hire, people in the future, so it's costly because you train people for a month or 2 months. You're paying them, you're trying to train them, and then later on you need to like develop the person. You need to provide him all the sets of skills so that he can perform his job. So things like that. No, so you need to provide training. So things like that. No, so kinahanglan siya tutukan. All right. So I'll be pausing a while. There is a participant here that's named that the name is admin. Can I ask him or her to rename so that the recording of the attendance, no, so will reflect in the true name. So by the way, your participations or your names will be monitored. So I mentioned this before that your attendance will be checked based on the log in and log out. Every time you join in, that's being monitored. All right. So next, it should always be pegged at 100% individual, meaning to say the assumption here is that you guys are, like for example, an individual. So meaning to say when you're starting the team, so ikaw pa lang mag-isa, so you're doing everything, no? So 100% on deck, no? So 100% pasabot, no? So imo tanan, no? So because you're trying to build the company first, no? So you have an idea now, you are trying to run a company, so muna ka business idea, and then most of the time all the work is with you, no? So mo na siya ako kay ng challenge. So in the beginning, your job is to do everything. No? So gikan na tong gisulti na ko nga ikaw mag-develop sa product, ikaw pa yung magbaligya sa product, ikaw pa yung mo-design sa product. So all work no, in the beginning. No? So when you are in idea. So sometimes because Numan is an island lagi, so we kind of look around and find people who can be a partner with us. No? So that's the thing because we want to share or unburden our loads. No? That's when it hurts. That's also where the earlier slides was referring to. No? So when you do a lot of things, medyo usay overwhelming siya. No? Overwhelming siya. And it's difficult to develop a very good product when you are overwhelmed. So hiring someone means firing yourself from the job. So every time you get people on board, that means that you're unloading part of yourself. No? So you fire yourself from that particular job because you are now delegating that particular job. No? For example, if you started nga ikaw lang isa, and then okay, you decided nga okay, I need somebody who will do the coding, developing the product based on my instructions, based on my idea. So pwede siya, no? But then now we mentioned that the resources is expensive, so should be willing to pay. No? So as a startup, so that means that you need to have your own parang capital, no? Kay mubayad man ka eventually sa imong employee, right? Okay. So next. Okay, sorry. So hard to fill the gaps in your personal skill set. That means that is there something that is difficult for you to do? No? So if you don't have the skills to like technically design the product or code, kung nakay engineering coding, so that means that this fits the requirement of getting people on board in your team. So you'll be looking for people that will complement your sets of skills, no? Especially kulang imong skills, no? Na kay mga skills nga wala sa mga. So you need to identify that. You need to begin in yourself. No? So what are the needs that I need to fill in? No? So that's a part wherein you need to answer this question. So kung dili ka maayo mag-coding, so you need people to do the coding, and then maybe that guy will be the future technology officer, no? The chief technology officer. All right. Don't outsource your responsibilities like fundraising, or don't outsource or hiring. No? So right now, it's really being discouraged, no, that immediately you're building your team and then you'll be hiring a CEO. So usually, when you start a team, you'll be acting as the chief executive officer. So you don't delegate this. Otherwise, you're kicking out yourself now out of your startup team. So so usually pag startup, you really need to like parang baby maguna nimo, no? So that means nga imuha gyud tanan. No? So you go back to that. So you cannot rely your startup to other people and expect a very good result, no? Na muna na ang setup, no? So you cannot expect that to happen. Hiring doesn't make things easier, no? So there will be complications, and I think you guys, even if you're trying to form a team, potentially kamo pod you will be encountering problems, no, concerns within your team members. But the most important thing is to really identify your teammates, no, if you fit in the profile of getting together. Okay. Okay. First hire, the most important hire, if you're hiring, important questions to ask yourself. So if you'll be hiring, so magnegosyo na mo in the future. Or even now, if you're forming a team, so can this person shoulder extra responsibility? So willing ba ni siya mo adapt og kanang trabaho? No? So, okay? Can this person communicate with you? Makastorya ba ni sa imo openly? Would he be honest and open, no, to discuss things with you? No? So, usually guys, ang nitabo sa to na Filipino, very kay kuan kay ta kanang concern kay ta sa kanang example kanang concern kay ta og kanang kuan daw Ang ay di na lang ko mastorya kay basig masuko si sir, malain noon siya kay negative ang mastorya. So in the context or the culture of kanang sa mga Americans, so you can say anything. Mag-away mo diha sa during your team meeting, mag-away mo, but at the end of your business meeting, you remain friends, then that's okay, no? So nga ang kultura sa Amerikano, bahala mo maglalis mo diha, magano basta at the end of the day, it's all for the business. No? The relationship, the personal relationship can be different. No? So that means that as a leader, you'll be open to, for example, no, to your colleagues na will be providing negative feedback to you. Does she represent the culture you want to create? This is very important. Culture. This is one of the most important things in terms of how do you develop culture. Kana bitong kultura nga duha ra na ano kanang tinapulan nga kultura or kanang goal-oriented nga culture. So individually guys, kamo I think you guys knows where you are in that regard. No kamo kasulti mo I'm very goal-oriented. Why? Because I want to achieve a lot of things no in my for example in my college studies right now I want to be no sobrang ano ba. So you set goals in yourself and then you get when you hire your first hire, that means nga I want my people also to be goal oriented, no? Because we need to be in phase, no, in terms of leading our startups where we're going. No, so yan na ba, no? So that means that you guys, when you form your team right now, so meaning to say, you think about the culture you gonna build, no? So kana siya. So kana nga sa kana nga kultura no nga gusto ninyo. No, so langayan ba mo, kanang responsive ba mo or goal-oriented ba mo? So you can make or break also no the team no because of the culture you want in place in your team. Okay? So kana ba daw langayan meaning to say mag-submit og mga requirements, dugay kayo, dugay trabahon, no? So nga na no. So di po siguro na manyana hapit ba na siya. So things like this no in the culture, no? So meaning to say we are trying to build nga achievers ta ang team, no? So we want to achieve a lot of things, no? So we are go 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 team, no? So wala tay ginabalibaran, wala tay gina-reviewsan, no? So we are really on a positive all the time, no? We want to work things out, no? So we want to deliver things. So for you guys, no? So as early as now, actually, you guys are developing your own personal culture, no? So and then try that, expand that to a team. Okay. So I think this one is very important. No? When you hire that first person, will this person be evangelizing your company? No? So kani ba siya karabang iyagin itarungon ba nga okay, I believe in this company, ganahan ko ani, so I will do a lot of things for the company. So kani murag I'll tell my friends that the startup team that we're forming, I believe in it, and we are all together in this. And so we are trying to like sell this kind of product because we believe in the product. This will help solve the problems of the community, things like that. And so people will believe in your startup, in your product. So that is very important in himself. So a lot of people want to work with him or her. So that is very important as well. No? So of course, productivity depends on how well together we work together. You know? So I think that's a very important in a team component. So kung naging problema ng team, it's really difficult to achieve things. So role is typically developed for designer. No? So for example, we will talk about designer na because this is one of the TH that we were talking about. The designer, tapos the technology developer or product developer, and then the communicator. Now that means the leader, the team's leader. So the designer is the person who acts as a cultural seed. So that means when you develop the product, although mostly the CEO handles the thinking of what kind of product we're developing because this is what the community needs. The designer is like he wants to start this kind of culture, no? So that means that he will be leading, kumbaga daw, leading the company or the team in terms of forming this culture within the team, no? And then when you are going to expand, so kind of develop define this culture in the company. So the first hire takes the most risk of any employee, because in the startup, Manggod, um, unlike working in there are two kind of risk here. When you're working with a startup, of course, that is different when working with an established company. Working in a startup is different because in terms of the benefits, it's not, you don't get a lot of benefits. But then, if the company will get successful in the future, then that's where the benefits comes in. No? A lot of benefits are in. For the company as well, for the startup team, this is risk because you don't know exactly the guy would be able to deliver the teams, the startup teams requirements in terms of how you would want to like lead your company, no, or grow your company in terms of business. So this element of risk. So every time we hire people, will they be able to um, like work with what you want to achieve, no? So things like that. Now, usually, ang first hiring ng mga early employees, they get equity options or salary, plus salary. No? So, meaning to say, kaning mga gipang-hire ninyo, usually, no, you need to pay them because they're working for you. No? So, usually, ang mga startup founders, when we try to build the team, usually, pagkasugod na because wala pa'y kwarta, ang mga CEO, ang mga team, kanang founding team, wala pa'y sweldo. No? So, meaning to say, they're trying to just build the company, no, from scratch. So wala gyud sweldo, wala gyud income, wala gyud money. But they have the belief and passion to they have the belief that in the future this startup will really gain something. No? So nga na siya. No? The first employee that will be hired, ano yung may equity. No? So meaning to say, sige, because you're hired in the company, para ganahan ka mo trabaho, then you will be provided with, for example, 2% equity stake. No? So 2% ownership of the company. That's big already. No? 5% or the more. No? So meaning to say that's big already. And sometimes there are people that people get, no, or pirated because they believe that person can help the company. So they give bigger incentives, no, in terms of equity. So that depends. People decide to work with you based on the people they will be working with, and then the first hire is the first evangelist. We need to really find people that kanang yung mutuo no mo believe gid sa to ang startup, no. It's not just he's there, no, because he needs work. So that's a wrong kanang marag reason, no, to get the person on board. No? So you need to like find people who would be, if not equally passionate about what you're doing, so that this guy will also be evangelizing about your startup. So now when you have this hire, the first hire, so you need to find other people and then you have to keep them. So building the team beyond the first hire, so you get more people on board because you believe that you need customer service now. We'll be responding to questions coming from the customers or things like that, no? The challenges of that, so the building beyond the first hire, and then being good talent is also difficult because if they're able to demonstrate their capability in the company, so in the future they might consider na because I've established already my experience, mangita kong light trabaho, no, so in a bigger company. So things like that, it's difficult to keep people, good talented people in the company. So that's why kani bang mga benefits ba, no? So mo po na isa ka reason why people would love to stay because they have all these benefits being offered, equity shares, no? So but the more or less the passion yet behind, no, if the people believes on what you do, no, just like kani bang sa Tesla ba, so just like kaning Tesla or SpaceX. So people like join Elon Musk, they like really like happy working about Tesla, even if it's very challenging because they work like 16 hours a day, to develop what needs to be done for the SpaceX rockets. So they work because they have this passion that they believe that eventually SpaceX can go to Mars. No, so that's beyond the parang kanabitong thinking dirila sa kutob, no, and they're thinking about we will be the first company to launch our rocket to Mars, no, so they have that idealism, no, so people tend to stay in a company because they are passionate about the vision of the company. Now, the company or the vision of the company, the people they work together or work with. No, so the leadership team is like inspiring. Now, so things like this can be reasons, no, why people stays in company. And I think the same is true, no, even if kami sa CSU, no, in the university, if we have this kind of mindset as well, so parang going beyond, no, so what is right now the challenges we are being faced, so we could still continue because there are more than enough reasons for us to stay, no, so we are passionate about things. Now in the university we do this and that because we are very passionate about this, so that's why we are still here, no, things like that. All right, so this was this one note here. The key is keeping the key to keeping your employee the key is keeping your employees challenged and giving them creative freedom. I think this one a highlighted thing. No? So for this particular author, you mentioned that you always need just to be challenged. So for you guys, pareha po na sa inyo. Ano? So to be interested in doing something for you, kinala mo i-challenge all the time. No? So tagaan mo mga challenges. That's why I think you're given with assignments, problem sets. No? So to keep you engaged. No? And for the startup team, very important that you need to have your own creative freedom. No, bahala na mo, no. Sometimes the leaders of the company would say, okay, mo na to ang target, no. Then I will not be micromanaging you. You know the target. I believe in your capacity to do things. Do it, no. So in your own, based on the time frame, based on your flexibilities of schedule, do this. No? So nga na siya. So this is kind of a management thing. No? So people will be allowed to do. No? So just like you, I'm asking you guys, you are allowed to find the members of your team rather than me telling you that person 1, 2, 3, you form your own team. No, person 4, 5, 6, you're a second team. And so for us, no, so we kind of like, okay, you have this freedom, no, to develop your own thing. So part of that growth, no. Again, designers, developers, salespeople, when we are hiring more people on board, no, in the company to help us. So designers want to be challenged, to work with people they respect, to be respected by their peers, to work with people on the problems that inspire. So that makes them like all the time engaged, no, on the product or the process that you are working in your startup. So give them challenges, no, if you're the team leader. So must have a variety of design skills, of course. No? For you guys, engineering mo gud mo tanan dire, no? Unlike sa uban mo, for example, if you go to other universities, when they offer the subject, students enrolled are not exactly the same like tanan gid sa engineer, no? So for example, we mentioned on our topic opportunity recognition, and we talk about the University of California, Berkeley. So in this kind of subject, actually this is open for all, no? So mga accounting students, business students, and even designers, no? So mga architects, no? So industrial design. Meaning to say there is a variety of people joining, no, in terms of working. So meaning to say din when they form a team, so not necessarily nga pare-pareho mo tanan engineers, no? So for sa ato karon, for the sake of exercise, I'm asking everybody to form a team. Bahala nag-engineer ka tanan, no? So and then you might want to find an engineering student just like you guys na maayo siya mo design, no? Even if your background is engineering gyapon, maayo siya mo design. So na may mga tao ngayon na, no, nga ang sets of skills beyond sa ilang engineering. So you can look into this area. Okay. And developers want to be challenged. So as designers, ang developers also want to be challenged, but in the technical aspect. No? So, the leader might post na kaya ba ni yung ani kung ato na yung ani ng product, kaya ba kaya nimo, no? So pwede ba nimo ni buhaton nga, no? So if you pose challenges to those developers, technical ano no, mga engineers, then they will be hooked up no in terms of developing better products or services, because of the challenges that you want. So I think that's the same challenge that they threw no sa Apple, for example, in an Apple company. No, so the challenge is how to make for example, how to make the screen bigger, and the mobile phone or the smartphone, bigger screen and then thinner, things like this. So how to challenge the mga engineers, no? So meaning to say, ang electronics ng mga circuitry na pero naging nipisa, no? So how can you make, no? So the product really thin, no? So if they are engaged in the technical na challenges, no? So they will continue like, yeah, so this is where I want to be like, I can achieve this, no? So yan na ang mga attitudes of developers, and they don't say no for nothing. So you would always accept challenges. So that's why kung laayon sila, walay challenges, laayon sila, then they got bored. I got bored. So mo pa na sa mga bata na so tagano mo mga challenges, padulog chess para they will not get bored no nga sige lang tanaw TV or YouTube or sa ba. So feel ownership is very important, no? So when you're in the team, guys, when you are organizing your team, you need to feel that everyone should feel like they own the company. Everybody should feel so that they would contribute, no? So you dili lisod, no? Dili lisod encourage, no? So that's why you need to like feel the ownership, because you guys are you're already a part owner now of the company, right? So you have equity, you have percent ownership of the company. So all the more that you should feel like you own the company, But when the people that you hired should also feel like associated, no? They'll be proud of the company. So for example, I'm very proud of working with SpaceX, no? Because we relaunched the astronauts to the International Space Station recently. That's never been done in the past 10 years. So it's our company, SpaceX. So you're very proud of where you're working, the sense of ownership, that you belong to really the company, you belong to your startup team, for example. All right, salespeople must approach sales as business development. Negotiate good, all right? It should not, the motivation, the commission that you get should not be the sole motivation that you want to think about. Usually money, so guys, ang money, good guys, it's not for me, I'm talking about myself. It's not the intention really itself, the money ba. So every time we do something, it's not the intention that kani kay makakwarta ko ani, it's not really that intention, it's a result of what we're doing, result of what we do that where we are passionate about, for example. So it's just a result, because I believe like I've read that in Elon Musk and then the stories of other founders, it was not their goal, not the start, that really I want to put this startup because I want to earn billions of dollars of money. No, it happened because they were able to launch these scalable businesses. This is kind of a reward to them, but they were not thinking that this will be $1 billion US in the future. No, when they started out, they actually start with why. Again, we go back with why. So why are we doing this? Now, for the case of Elon Musk in developing the Tesla cars, the battery operated cars, he's also thinking about the planet, because a lot of cars on the road right now, kaning mga diesel engines, gasoline engines, are really like contributing a lot in terms of the climate change. So he thought that by introducing these road cars operated by batteries, he's trying to solve that particular area, or particular problem. That's his why. That is why, mao na yang why, starts with why. Mao na yang why. Ngano man, why are you doing this, So he's doing that for that particular major reason, so helping the planet. So meaning to say, kaning billions of US dollars nga income or yang equivalent nga ownership today is just parang paano siya, no, murag fruit of his parang labor, no, because he was able to do these things, no. So but then it was not really designed, no, to for him to make billions of US dollar. Okay? I hope that's clear, no. Let's start with why. Let us start with why. So sure, team is everything. So I think I could not emphasize this more. No? So team is everything. So you need to work well together so that everybody, if you are in the same page in your startup, so oy, naantay ka na lang isubmit nga business model canvas, everybody will be on the same page that, all right, guys, we can come up together in this, and then you'll be passionate, no, because you're on the, for example, your vision, your philosophy, your culture is aligned with one another. No? So that means nga yung na natin dapat buhaton. Aligned ta, no? So mga philosophy sa what you want to have in your team. No? So that means nga you need to find your identity, kumbaga. No? You need to find your identity. No? So katong dimension na ganiya nga goal-oriented bata, no? What we want to do, achiever bata, so passionate bata, so things like that, no. So you want to decide, no, and let you decide on what kind of culture you guys as a team will want to develop. Okay, all right, questions so far? Question, guys? Okay, wala naman siguro sila. Luto na siguro. All right. So culture, company's culture is an extension of the founders' personalities. Kamo. So founders or founder of founders, usually kung isa lang ka, yan naka-idea, so be it. No, but you guys, what we're trying to form here, for example, I'm grouping you to three. So meaning to say the three of you are the co-founders. No? That's why Google, kanang ginatawag na sa Google nga mga co-founder ang tawagan na nila, no, katong si ang duha, no, si Larry Page, no, o si kisa pa ni isa, no. So they are co-founders, no, because the two of them founded the company. Now the culture you want to develop kana siya, no, so extension of personalities, that means nga mo reflect ginasa, no, kung unsa mo nga klase ba, so achiever ba mo or goal oriented no type of company. So mukuan gina siya sa inyong team, no, mo reflect gina siya. Right, good. So multidisciplinary teams bring challenges. So for your case, if you will be working with other group of engineering students like electronics engineering, may kauban nga lain nga member from geology, from genetic engineering, from agricultural engineering. So the dynamics would be different, no? And then the culture, you need to really come up with, okay, so establish the type of culture you want to have in the workplace. So for example, no, sa Google, di ba, ang company culture nila, the way of working nila, they don't really set a time nga, dapat mosulod yun mo 8 o'clock and 5 o'clock gawas na mo. Even the coders there, no, sa technology, so magtrabaho gabi, kadlawon, pagyapon dito, kay they're like kind of tune in yung murag ilang brains work better in kanang kadlawon, so things like this. So there will be challenges, no, at the same time, because ang inyo magong different areas of field of specialization may have a different culture as well, no, how you were groomed, things like that, how you were groomed by your professors, for example, so things like that. So there is differences, or there are differences. Encourage personal professional growth, feedback. Okay, so that means that as a founder or co-founders of your company, when you have employee later on, so we always think like, if you believe in that person you hired, and then he's gonna stick with the company, and you believe in that, that's gonna be happening. So that means that you have to invest in people, no, for their professional growth. So you will be spending money to for them to further study MS or PhD, or they attend trainings, webinars. So you take charge of this, no, so that people will like, okay, they kind of grow, and then at the same time they contribute to your company, no, based on those trainings that they attended, example. feedback, because what we want to know is that you guys will always hear about what's happening. No? So, for example, in the technology area, the engineer that assigned for developing the product would always say, "Agoy, no, so naku kay ko problema, no? So he needs to provide feedback to the team so that the entire management team can help him out how to resolve this kind of challenges, no? Something like that. So it's not just the positive things that you can share, but also those challenges or problems that you are encountering. So feedback, that's the very important thing. So for example, in tasks assigned to you, you need to be able to provide feedback to your colleagues na, okay, I'm done with this. By 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll be able to finish this. Don't worry about me. So things like that. So the dynamics or the culture that within the organization um, should be trained like this. So, yeah. So, na yung mga vertical interactions, one-on-ones, that means that your boss and you guys may have time to talk one-on-one. For example, kita, no? So, pwede kita mag one-on-one. So, for example, consultation hours, mo na yung ginatawag na ito, no? So, akong consultation hours, all week long, anytime, as long as we can set an appointment, no? So, pwede ko, outside aning schedule na to for your consultation hours. No? So, pwede siya. So we've done that. Naingon na, sir, di ko pwede Monday to Friday. Pwede na Saturday, sir. Sige, pwede ra. No, last week we've done that. So I've been meeting students even Sunday afternoon, no, because that's their only time. No, for me, I'm flexible with that. No, if there will be clarifications, especially during the pitching event, no, ganun, sir, ganun one. Sige, pwede. Ano, as long as bakante ko and there's no conflict with my activities with the family, no, on weekends. Right. Now, as president or as a leader, everything you do or say has a positive or negative effect on a company culture. So positive, like for example, people get inspired now because they see their leaders working together with them. No, dili nagpapitik-pitik lang, meaning to say relax lang. If they see a leader who's like really dedicated, committed, and working for the goals of the company, and then I believe that everybody will see their leaders as an example, no, and then they follow positively. And then, but when the leader begins to like magsigig pangasaba, magsigig, so even creates this environment you cannot take, no, because ang leader mismo magsige rag pangasaba, magkuan dili pasensyado, parang na more on the characteristics na, no, traits na. So gamay nga bikil, padak-on, ano bitaw? No, so kapoy ka na siya, No, so you don't want to be in an environment all the time na lang every day na nganing kind of ano no mga nganing sets of kanang mga tambo ba. You want to be encouraging people to like inspire people to do their job. So it's a bit of a challenge, and when you do that, there's a negative effect to the rest of the members, no, of the company. All right, so I think I'm almost done. So a good team has a healthy mix of both. We're talking about positive, negative. New talent brings energy, new ideas, and new perspectives. That's about it. For example, no, for example, if you hire young people, young generation to the company, so medyo aggressive pa kayo, no? So aggressive pa kayo. So that's why new energy, idea. So these are the people that we can capitalize on, no, when we try to grow and expand our business, because they can really contribute. No, so they're willing to extend. So they're not thinking about the time. No, so no, so that's the characteristics. But however, the existing all the older people in the company bring stability, best practices, and variety of experiences. So I think no, based on the study that presented earlier, experiences pagyagyapon is one of the really vital and important to the company in terms of decision makings, in terms of getting where the company steer the company we're going. So some characteristics no for a new talent when you hire new talents, no, like especially young. So some of the negatives is inexperience, but they are hungry, no? So they're willing to work hard to show themselves that they are really, they try to prove themselves, no? Of course, I belong in this company. I will work hard, spend a lot of time. So that's why they work 16 hours a day just to prove themselves and that they belong to the company and get promoted, no? Right? But they are relatively expensive and risky as well. So this set of, but we kind of balance this now with existing talent to lead them basically. Okay, just hire more than just college students and recent graduates if you are already in a startup. No? So you need really to find people that, well, we mentioned about really being compassionate or being passionate with the company's vision, no, or the goals that you want to set. Okay. So some wrap up, no, because it's 2 minutes before 12. So don't hire until you have to. Okay, don't hire until you really need, because we always mention that hiring people is expensive. Okay, hiring people is expensive, and if you don't have funds yet for your startup team, then you'll be getting money out of your pocket to make that salary available to your employee. So usually among ginatawag na bootstrapping sa mag-bootstrap sa, no? So meaning to say ang atong resources kita-kita lang sa until such time that we will be able to get investors, no, to fund our project. Okay? So team is everything, diversify and challenge. Okay, foster a company culture made up of the best parts of your personality. Foster a company culture made up of the best part. Ako na, balik naman. Everything you do and say matters, no, as a founding member. Okay, question ni Colonel. Pero sa imo, sir, new talent or existing talent? So it depends on our need. No, it depends on our need. I should say. No? So, for example, if I need people who have a lot of experience on this already, medyo I don't want to take risks, so I will be getting people, no, existing people to do this particular job. No, but if I'm okay with risking a lot and then getting the best people from outside, so I will hire new. No, so in terms of different needs, no, different needs, so I can mix it up as well. No, so for example, there is a product development here that needs to have two people, for example, so you can combine an experienced person and a new hire, not to work for that particular for the job. So kind of depends on the situation. But for for me, I would like really na just like the company that I worked before, every year they really hire new people, set of people, new college graduate. So my experience before, so I graduated, like for example, I graduated in March. The company hired us immediately, so in May we were started working already, and I saw that they were trying to kind of build young generations of engineers in that particular company, so that they can train people to be future leaders as well. So nga na ang ilang setup. So every year they get new hires, new hires, new hires, but they maintain those existing people with okay, new with great credibility, sir. Yes, yes, Colonel. No, so proven track record po. No, we just don't like hire somebody that okay. So sa hiring is like for example, ang sa kana mga recent graduates man good, ang basis yun for common mga human resource office of big companies. So usually they can tell people or new graduates on the merit of their grades, no, how hard they work to get good grades, no, in their undergraduate study. No, so ingunana siya, no, so on the basis of karamihan sa grado, no, because you don't have experience. No, for example, they're looking for new employees at the company. So they don't have a basis na indeed you will be really the person we're looking for. So ultimately, they base their decision of hiring people based on the merit of the grades you present to them. No? So how hard you work in your undergraduate, that would reflect. No? So basically, kanang mga grades na to, that would reflect, no, for your companies. You you guys are really what we're looking for, because you demonstrated yourself based on your grades that indeed you're committed to your study, dedicated, no? So you've performed very well, no? So things like this, no? So yeah, so basically that's the basis of most of the employees, no? Other than the interview, no? So your grades, guys, when you enter kung mag-employment mo, so your grades will speak volumes no, for those companies. All right, thank you, Carla, for that question. All right, so that ends my presentation. Questions? All right, pero based on experience, sir, sometimes ang ubang companies can naa sila preferred school in hiring. Yes, that's definitely true as well, no? But yeah, so I'll answer this first. Yeah, like for example, if you graduate from UP Diliman, you're the preferred person kaagad, no? UP Diliman, like de la SU, Ateneo de Manila, no, de la Salle University. Well, of course, no, because I like they have a really established university, no. But for me now, so um, to tell you, no, so this was also raised to us before, no. So for example, why did, for example, Philips Semiconductors hired us, you know, in hired us diri sa taga Mindanao, taga Cebu, no? So there were 40 of us. There were people also hired from UST, from the LSU, UP Diliman. Ganong daghan mga ayo sa Visayas ug Mindanao gipang-hire, especially in Mindanao. The one thing is that when they found out based on this exercise that they keep on hiring people from Mindanao, because kita nga mga Mindanaoan, even if we are not from a popular place, grabe na to, other than we have good grades, grabe na to ka hardworking people, and we don't say no. And we don't just leave the company, no? Just like I have a friend before nga taga Mapua sa Institute of Technology. Wala lang siya tuig sa company, and then ihawa sa kay nakita na mo sa laing company. So, but then kita nga mga taga Mindanao, we kind of kanang pantaba kanang grabe na to mo stick, no, sa nang maning kamot gyud ta para kuan. So grabe na to, mao gyud na ilang attitude na to is different, no, because we commit, we really are hardworking individuals, no, that we kind of take parang, well, this is an opportunity, and then ato ginji facilitate, no, opportunity nga dire gyud. Mao ginala nakita based on that study, no, when they keep on hiring people from Mindanao, kay so na sense of loyalty because of the opportunities given to us. So we kind of bring back, although there will be like 5 years, 10 years from now, you move to another company, but dili para na sa Manila ba nga, if they're not happy in 1 year's time, then they transfer to things like that. I think si Matt nag-raise sa iyang hand. Matt, do you have question, Matt?
Yes, sir. Na may question, sir, about sa assignment 1, katong getting to know startup founders and technopreneurs.
All right, yes.
Di ba, sir, magpakuan kag essay, sir? Then tapos sa napoy nakakuan dito na 3 questions katong mangutana mi, sir, about ining 3 questions, sir, kung guide questions ba to para kung unsay content sa mong essay or separate jud to siya na answeran namo, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Matt, no, for the question. Basically, what you can is integrate it in the it might not be a separate. It can be it should be included, no, for every so you're correct in saying that is part of the guide question, no? So part siya. So it should not be separate. So you can have that included in your essay, no? So so in answering the essay, so you can have that included in your for every technopreneur, kumbaga.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Other question, guys? Clarifications? Sir, have you ever tried being a leader in an organization startup na there are members na much older sa imuha? Right, very good question. Okay. All right, so when I was, okay, this come from Colonel now. So when I was working in a company before, So my job was into the new product introduction. So we kind of developed new products for the Philips semiconductors. So packaging development, new product yun siya ka na mag-develop ni. So my colleagues are from mga European, no? So I get to interact with them. So ang amo dira is I don't have people immediately under me, no? So direct under me. So what the company do is that as a project leader, when I was a project leader of these new products, I get to get people, I get to choose people not to join me in other parts of the departments, other departments of the company. Like for example, I was in the new product introduction, assembly, packaging development group. I have like I talked to people very much older than me during that time. I was 21 years old, 22 years old. I was already running my own project. And then part of that project was that to get people on board from other, like the process engineering, maintenance engineering, then quality engineering, and then production line supervisors. And those people were really older than me. So times 2 my age, times 2.5. No? So they were older as my age. No? And then basically, I have to work with them because in the production or development of the new product, basically, you need people to work with you so that the product will be developed. So things like that. So that's the training, and I think it helped. If like I think it helped me because during my college years, so I was the president of the ECE. The training was there already, no, but it was still very difficult. No, so it was really difficult because you're trying to negotiate with your bosses. So I have a lot of bosses during that time. The boss of those quality engineering, the boss of those. So parang parang you report to different bosses, no. But then it did not deter me to work hard, no, in terms of developing the or running the project, leading the project. So I ran like about big projects. That's why they allowed me to travel abroad all the time to get suppliers on board at that very young age, 22, 23, until I left the company 26, no, to transfer in Butuan. So yeah, my experience told me that you can do it really now, but you have to be passionate and committed to do your work. All right. So yeah, so it's people management. I think the most important thing about working with other people and even older people is relationship. No, so you need to build a very good relationship with those people you're working with. No, so as a project leader, you always ask people to do work for you. No, so ingana siya, no, so that means that they will contribute to you if they respect you, if they no. So these are kind of relationship things. No? So they believe in you, so in your capability to do things. So things like that you need to establish. So to be very good friends beyond the project as well. So relationships, that's the most important thing for me. Establishing a good rapport, good relationship with those people you work with, especially if they don't parang, oy, wala bang kuikuan sa imo, di mo ko kinahanglan mo report sa imo, no, because you're not my boss. But then in terms of project leadership within that kind of international or multinational companies, so the thing that you need to have is like you can establish a very good relationship with those. Even if mas maayo pa ka sa ila or even maayo pa sila sa imo, those are not the most important things. For me, how I dealt with my colleagues before is that I tried to establish a very good relationship with them in a fun environment as well, no, when working with projects, even if the project is very stressful. Another question here is, I hope that answers the question. No? Unsa among undergrad na course, sir? I mean, imong courses. Ako, electronics engineering, ICE ko sa MSU IT. So, nanat tag kalisod, no? Kanang mga kalisod na to, that will be make us strong person. Wow, amazing kayo sa relationship award to keep. Yes, Colonel. Yes, I think relationship with other people, no, that's very important. That we maintain a healthy relationship. Even if kanang, for example, no, even I'm leading in the TTL, no, even if our people doesn't kanang deliver the expected kanang mga targets ninyo, for example, you still have to maintain relationship, no, even with problems or challenges with that. At the end of the day, it's not about simply the job that you do, no, it's about um, well, getting to along with other people. No? I think that's most important thing. All right. I think it's already 12:13. I'm sorry, guys, to keep you hanging in there. If there are no clarifications, more questions, or that's it? Okay. Sir, last question. Okay. Shoot. Sige, sige. Okay ra. Sige, kung katong mga kuan, basig kinahanglan naman itong uban. Sige, Colonel, last. Basig di ka katulog. Sige. Sige, sige, about sa Tesla. Yes, yes. Yes, yes, Colonel. Last question. Sige, sige. Nag-type pa siguro ni si Colonel. Pwede na open yung mic, then we can, ano, no, can have. Ang term de ato, no, katong if you work with other people with from other departments, ang tawag naman is mga cross-functional teams, no, for example. Yeah, silang Martin and Mark after na-acquire ni Elon Musk ang company. So, actually, there was problem even with Tesla, no? So, when they kind of kanang before Elon Musk took the position of CEO, no? So there was really problems between them, no? So I'm not sure about the sharing scheme, but there were problems, no, in terms of the relationship that they have, no? So Elon is very aggressive, no? So in terms of the even the position, the stake of the company was even different. So there was even I have a friend that doesn't believe in Elon because on the things like this, no, na when they have nagdawat pa bag share silang Martin and Mark after na acquire ni Elon Musk company. Basically when they started out, so Martin and Mark they have ownership share. So basically when so the decision for example of a CEO, pwede mo gud nimo nga paliton nila share, no, if they're willing to like sell their company share. So pareha ba sa nitabo sa kaning Facebook, kato si isa ka founder nila ang ilang business person before na naana siya sa karon sa Singapore. So he retained his share, no, in the company, and it's still worth billions of US dollars. All right. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Colonel, for the questions. And yeah, so I think Matt also had the same questions. Jessel. All right, guys. So thank you for your time today. I hope you learned something new, different today. So with that, I'm ending our discussion. Salamat kaayo, and God bless everyone. Keep safe. See you on Monday. Salamat. Bye-bye.